Now, before we enter our final session for today's sharing, before revealing the top 3 finalists for this year's Jumpstarter Global Pitch Competition, we have one last segment before we go on. So everyone, please put our hands together and welcome Mr. Tsai, Chairman of Alibaba Group. He will join us for a fireside chat. The topic of the chat is related to our Imagine the Future theme, specifically that is the future of work and leadership. Please be seated, and everything is rapidly revolutionizing. This will become extremely thought-provoking. And of course, with us, we also have Miss Angie Lau, co-CEO and editor-in-chief of Forkast Labs. She will be engaging in this segment as well. So I will leave it to the two of you, and Joe, please get started. Thank you.
Angie, I'm sorry. Are you okay with the sun in your eyes?
You know what? I am blinded by the superstars sitting right across from me. So I came prepared anyway, Joe. So I am so fine right now.
I brought my sunglasses too.
There we go. I am actually taking this as a compliment, okay? So we are standing in the obvious bright light of Mr. Tsai, who really came from, I would say, a background like so many of us, and yet in a moment of clarity and maybe intuition and gut feeling, embarked on this incredible journey of technology, of global finance, of global retail, and really wrapping around the world this incredible network of technology, of retail, and everything in between. So here we sit with you. You are the future of work, and this is the guy who leads the way. So we've got the technology that's really raining down on us right now, and at top of mind really is artificial intelligence. I note that throughout the entire career of Alibaba, you all have really taken that one step right before the cusp when everybody else realized it, because there was a business need. How do you view artificial intelligence right now with your internal infrastructure, how you view the future of work?
So first of all, I don't come from a technology background, so whatever I say is going to be misleading. I just want to make sure I don't say anything technical-wise that's wrong. But I approach AI from a layperson's perspective, which is what is this thing called AI, and what are they trying to do or replicate? So I would say the AI landscape had a watershed event last year with the launch of ChatGPT, and everybody was, sort of entranced by this new technology that seems to be doing so many more things, so much smarter. So there's the pre-GPT era, and then there's the post. And I would like to actually take a sort of level set based on my understanding what's pre-GPT. So in pre, you taught machines to do specific tasks. They have very highly skilled, very high skills to do a task like teaching a dog how to smell for narcotics. Right. You send them to the airport, the dog is doing a better job than a human being, but you cannot conclude that the dog is smarter than a human being. Right. All right. So post GPT with transformers and these massive neural networks, all of a sudden the computer can process not just data, but knowledge. I mean, you're basically feeding computers, subject matters like math, science, chemistry, history, et cetera. Effectively, you are teaching the computer just like you're educating a child, except that you can educate the child in 2 months rather than 20 years. So all of a sudden, you have very smart machines that can not only absorb the knowledge, but they can analyze, they could also be creative. So hence, we have this idea of generative content, right? They actually create. And all of a sudden, this is very scary if you think about it. these machines are like high school or college graduates. I would say most pre-trained models are maybe like high school students, and then if you put more data into it to train it even more, they become experts and they get a college degree in chemistry or physics or whatever, and then they can go on to become PhD students. So that's kind of how I understand. I always try to put it in terms of human beings. So if you think about helicopters, they're just like large drones. Anyway. So what can they do? Basically, I think now AI can be as smart as your analysts, your people who, if they've already demonstrated. If you issue financial reporting, and AI can help quickly read a document, a 100-page annual report, and can pick out like 5 or 6 highlights within seconds.
Yep,
right?
That's right.
So it's going to replace all the equity research analysts, for example.
Right.
I come from a legal background. I tell the partners in the law firms, they're going to replace like 3rd and 4th year associates.
Right.
Why not first-year associates? You still need first-year associates to stand next to the copying machine to make copies of documents, but they're going to replace 3rd and 4th-year associates. So,
But here's the thing, right? You need those 3rd, 4th-year associates so that they could get up to the level of a senior, attorney with experience. You need that kind of runway.
Right.
To get the humans up to speed executing at a very high level. Without that opportunity to learn college, PhD, because it's AI is probably, going to do it in, 20 minutes versus at some point, right? You're just ingesting all of that information. And it takes that amount of time for the human brain and the human capacity and the ability to get up to speed. And then on top of that, have real-world experiences to learn from the nuance and the context of all of those things. How do humans and AI either compete or complement? What's your view?
I think, well, first, there's definitely a competitive element to it because, as I said, a lot of things that human beings do could be replaced by machines. So humans have to adapt, and that's the great thing about human beings is the adaptability, adapting to the circumstances. So I think in the future, humans will still be very good at areas where the so-called emotional quotient level needs to be very high. So I'll give you an example. Right now, AI can, I think within the next year, AI can help me write our earnings release. We just released earnings last night. But, in a year, they'll be able to replace my reporting team, the FP&A team, and the IR. They could,
Hypothetically and theoretically, for everybody who is a shareholder of this publicly listed company, just saying.
Yeah. Of course, you need to have the human overlay to make sure that nothing is wrong. That's where the lawyers came in to write sort of more risk-averse language into your earnings release. But having said that, let's think about a different task in a very corporate context. A lot of you have risen to the level where you're leading teams, and you have to give performance reviews at the end of the year, and you have to determine whether they get a 100 rating or a 50 rating, whatever it is, and you have to determine how much bonus you pay them. Imagine, can the machine do your performance reviews to interact with the people that are reporting to you?
Yeah.
Those are the most stressful for a manager. Year-end performance reviews is the most stressful thing because it's emotionally taxing to have those conversations. Because how do you deliver a bad message, like they didn't do a good job?
Yeah.
And if machines can do as good of a job as a human being, because when you go into that session, you have a message, but how you deliver the message depends on how they react to it. You're reading facial expressions, you're reading the disappointment in their shoulder slump, and then you have to deliver it more softly. All those things. If AI can do that, just as well as human beings, I think then I'll just say, forget it. Everybody should just quit their jobs and go home.
Well, you've created quite the buzz.
Large drone.
Literally, you've created a lot of buzz. The truth is, if I were your staff, and let's say AI does deliver this very emotionally intelligent kind of conversation, I'm still talking to a non-human. There is something inauthentic about that. And, we were discussing with the crowd yesterday about leadership. And, for me personally, leadership also means that you show up as your authentic, vulnerable self as a leader. You make sure that your team works in concert with each other based on their own individual needs in the context of the needs of the firm. These are things that you are doing as a leader, right? How are you training the next generation of managers and leaders? Sure, they can use AI. That is going to complement and enhance their work.
Yeah.
But how do you build a team that needs to exert this type of leadership, supported by technology and not replaced by it?
Yeah. The best leaders in the world are the ones who recognize their own limitations and are willing to bring in outside talent, especially people that are more skilled and smarter than they are. And they have that sense of humility to bring them in. Because if you think about it, all the founders out there in the company, if you think you are the smartest person and you're not willing to hire people smarter than you are to come into the company, then you are the limitation to the company's growth. The company can't scale if you cannot bring in better people, right? So I think that's the, so in the world of AI, like, I just not sure if computers can have that self-awareness to recognize that they don't have to be the smartest entity or person in the room.
That is great news for humans. Can we give that up for humans? That is great news for humans.
Yeah. So leaders have to hire and bring in people that are smarter than they are. I think that's the most important quality of a leader, because you are leading people and you are expected to scale your business. And if you don't have people that are smarter than you are, then you become the limitation to the company's growth.
You're a father. You are also a leader of one of the biggest firms in the world. You are taking a look at global opportunities, and in the context of raising exceptional children, as I hope we all are, to participate in that future world. What are you thinking about for them?
Oh, it's a very I mean, I've been thinking about this topic because the world is in such a messy place. Well, first, just about being a parent. I think the thing you learn about being a parent is you are setting yourself up to be disappointed a lot. Because they come back, they didn't get an A on their test, they went to a soccer game, they didn't win the game. It's like you always want your kid to be the best kid on the field and perform, and it's not that way. It's not that way. So you set yourself up to be disappointed. And if you have multiple children, you have multiple disappointments. So that's the first thing. The second thing
For the record, Dad does not think you're a disappointment. It was just very theoretical. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
No, I love my children, and I think
we all do, yeah.
They're at times they're smart, but they're all sensible. I think it's important to have sensible kids.
100%.
So the second thing I wanted to say is, I grew up in a generation, I think I'm very lucky, last 50 years, 50 plus years, I'm older than that, has been very peaceful.
Yeah.
There have been no wars, no threatening wars, or at least nothing that's really personally threatening to me.
Yeah.
I still remember my parents. My parents grew up in Shanghai. They moved to Taiwan in 1948, and they were talking about how to hide in these tunnels to escape from bombing, and things like that. So, you know, I remember those stories, but they're largely theoretical. But now, right now, we have 2 hot wars going on. We have a very bad geopolitical situation between the United States and China. I just hope that in the future, our kids can live can have some kind of a stable environment so that they can develop and do something great for society, right?
It's societal stability, economic stability, but more important, business opportunity. Without those things, there's conflict.
Right, that's exactly. Speaking of business, business opportunity is not about, it's not an objective thing, it's actually subjective. It's how you avail yourself to the opportunities, I think. So I give all kids advice. Young people come up to me and say, I'm in college, what subject matter I should study? By the way, I give the same advice to my own kids, but they don't listen to me. But I will give a free advice to those that have kids or that are still studying. In school, I think you should study how to code.
Yes.
Even if you don't want to build a career as a software coder, at least you should understand how the coding, the logic behind coding, right? Learn the language of AI. Learn the language of AI. Learn the language of the future. Software coding is important. The other thing, though, that's really, really important is learn history, because history repeats itself. And I think we're in such a messy situation is because, I think we can all understand what kind of situation we're in now if we understand history.
Yeah.
The third thing is learn psychology. That's the EQ part. Learn how the human mind works.
Yeah.
Learn what is this thing about human cognition that seems to be very ethereal, but it's just machines today. You can people. If you ask a lot of the scientists, machines they don't think machines have that sentient cognition.
Yeah.
Some of them do think that way, but most of them don't. But how the human mind works, I think psychology is very, very important.
I think what you really underline is human connection.
Yeah.
And in the future, we can have all these technological tools that we can use in context of work, of even family, and of life, but the human connection can never be replaced. So we're making human connections right now. We are connecting our synapses, and I hope that what we are learning from you today, Joe, and this is one last question before you inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs and founders. Success is not a straight road. There are many, many meandering routes to take, sometimes dead ends, sometimes potholes. Which failures in your mind, the potholes that you stepped in, were the greatest lessons for you that inform you today, that help you lead this firm into the tomorrow?
Yeah. I would love to mention all the mistakes I made at Alibaba, all the corporate mistakes, and bad product and all that stuff, but I'm not going to say that. What I want to say is people may know that I own a basketball team, an NBA team, so I'm a big sports fan. So there's just so much about life. The lessons that I learned was when I played sports, actually. So the biggest failure that really carried me through the rest of my life was in sports, as in not being able to make a team. You get cut from the team. I got cut from baseball, I got cut from swimming, I got cut from lacrosse. During my high school time, I got cut many, many times from sports teams. And if you think about it, if you fail in an exam, it's an individual failure. You're not as good. You're being told you're not as good, not as smart, whatever. You failed the exam.
Yeah.
If you fail in a company, it's kind of a social failure because there are colleagues in the company and you failed together. But in sports, it's both. what they're saying is you're not good enough in basketball, you're not tall enough, whatever it is, you got cut from the team. Individually, your skills are not good enough to play basketball. But the social aspect is nobody wants you on the team. You got cut from the team. You know, like your teammates don't want you on the team. That's a really, really hard thing to swallow. And if you take those lessons, I think the lesson from failure is you learn how to climb back. You learn how to get up, you know, and try a new sport, or if you lose a game, get up. You're not thinking about how to win the next game. You're thinking about how to practice well the next day so that you can prepare for the next game. And there's just so much learning in sports, and I would encourage all kids to play sports. They not only study, you know, computer science and coding and psychology and history, they should play sports.
It's about resilience, the lesson of resilience. It's about EQ, how to lead and follow within teams, how to be humans to each other. Because this path that we're all on with technology, it's really an undefined road, but the only people who are defining it are really the humans right now. So thank you, humans. Thank you, humans, for joining us. And thank you to this human for inspiring us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.